What is up, everybody? Ed Gow Jr. here from Dad Central. Excited for another great episode of the Dad Central show, but I couldn't do it without the person that's over there, Drew Solon. What's going on, Drew?
Well, as always, Ed, I look forward to spending this time with you and just having great conversations about fatherhood, ways to help dads be more successful in navigating just the challenges that they face, and being able to take something very practical from our guests and say, hey, I can do that. I can apply that for my life as a dad and be able to feel and see the reward and the benefit. Because I think there's not much better than connecting with your kids and feeling like you're doing this job of dad really well. And so that's why I love these conversations.
Excellent. And definitely want to say the Dad Central show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care cares that the best of a man, because when men care for themselves and for others, there is positive impact. So we have another friend today, and it's wonderful that we're meeting so many great fathers. And I know that you've wanted to get this young man on for a long time. So your wish has been granted. So I'm going to have you introduce him.
Okay. Well, today we're talking with Trevor Linden. And so if you aren't familiar with Trevor Linden, I'm not sure where you've been, but Trevor played 20 seasons in NHL from 1998 to 2008. He's also served as 4 years as the president of hockey operations for the Vancouver Canucks. I could go on and on about all his accomplishments and accolades, but he's also a father. He's got a soon-to-be 5-year-old son. And today we're really talking about his role and his experience as a father. And so I'm really excited to bring him on, and let's get talking about fatherhood.
Well, he's on.
Hey.
There he is.
Hey,
he's on. How we
Trevor.
doing?
I'm well. I'm awesome. Thanks. Just listening to your introduction there. I've had some really cool jobs. My career path has been a lot of fun, but I tell you what, nothing comes close to being a dad. It's been pretty cool, and I've obviously come at it at a bit of an older age, but it's been awesome.
Well, I think it's really important, and we're hoping that you share some of it, becoming a father at a little bit of an older age, but we like to say age ain't nothing but a number.
Yeah.
So definitely. So I'm going to start off with a conversation, but I know Drew is all over this one. So I'm just going to follow Drew's lead. But my first conversation with you would be how would you describe your relationship with your dad as a child?
It's interesting because I think, I'm 52 years old. I was born in 1970. So, what was fatherhood like in the 70s? It was different, right? For me, growing up in Medicine Hat, I was born in 1970. I had a brother born in 68 and another brother in 72. So there's 3 of us. We were 2 years apart. Parenting then, for my parents at least, because we were in a small town and trying to make ends meet, and dad was working his tail off trying to keep a roof over our head and food on the table, and it was about just getting day-to-day stuff done, or you had other families who, the weekend came back in the 70s and the dad went and played golf on Saturday, and it was and I think that's changed now. The relationship that fathers have with their kids is different. So, I think my dad, super hard worker. He's turning 80 this year. When we were born, he was grinding just to keep the roof over our head, and had a really good, successful business in the 70s and 80s. But I think our relationship was different. He was focused over here, and so I don't say that as placing any blame. It's just the way it was. It's the way it had to be. And my mom was obviously taking care of 3 boys, and taking care of the house and putting food on the table, and she did the books for the family business, and it just how it was. And and I think so it's changed a lot for today.
Yeah, I think that one of the main reasons we like hearing about these stories of what your relationship was like with your dad is I think we all have some common experiences when it comes to what we hoped for, what we experienced, or what that's really meant for us as we've gone on and lived our lives. And also as we enter into the stage of our own fatherhood.
Yeah.
And then how does that translate into our own motivations and what we want to see for our life and for our kids as we move forward based on those past experiences? And so maybe you could talk to us about what's your relationship with your dad taught you about your own fatherhood.
Yeah. I mean, given the situation back in the 70s when we were kids, I mean, we did our own thing. I had two brothers, and we played baseball in the park and football in the park and street hockey, and we just, with our buddies, and that's how we did it. We just were meandering around the neighborhood. And I think, though, for me, my dad never had, he never had the time. He never had the ability to show us, do, hiking trips or camping or that. We just didn't do that. So for me as a dad today, I want to introduce my son Roman to the things I love and expose it to him, whether he likes them or not. I want to, so I love to spend time on the snow, cross country skiing. I love to hike in the summer. I love to mountain bike and spend time on my bike and just enjoy the outdoors. So I want to try to expose Roman to that as much as I can, to have him develop a love and a passion for the outdoors. So I think, Roman's going to turn 5 this summer. And like I said to you earlier, fatherhood's less now of kind of the babysitting phase and more of the activity phase. So just being able to do things with them and do things that are, fun for both of us. I love mountain biking. Now, when Roman and I go mountain bike, it's different from when I go with my buddies, but it's still a lot of fun to be out there enjoying something that we both can do. And skiing's the same thing. When we ski together, it's just fun to be out there, and he asks a million questions about everything. And we just talk, and it's just fun to be in an environment where, I'm just hopefully building experiences for him that he can enjoy and build off himself.
So I'm curious to know, do you feel like there were parts of you missed out on that, and so you really want to make sure that Roman gets it? Or is it just more you're like, I just naturally want to do these things with him, so, and I have the ability to do those things with him, so now I'm going to go do it?
Yeah, Drew, I don't feel I missed out on anything because I didn't know any better. I think of my childhood. You know what? We had my mom, all three of us were into activities. So my mom, through garage sales and swap shop, she got us the equipment we needed, and we never went without, whether it was if we wanted to play, or we played baseball in the summer, we played hockey in the winter, and that was all, we were able to do all that stuff. So, I mean, having said that, so I don't feel like I missed out, but my lifestyle has changed certainly since I've retired from hockey in 2008. And, I don't look at so much. I look at being active as enjoying the outdoors, and I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. So I just want to share that with him, I guess. And, if it's something that he loves, great. If not, we will, I've always said, he's going to drive the bus on what he wants to do, where his passion. And I could care. People ask me all the time, "Oh boy, your son must be a good hockey player." And I'm like, no, I put him in learn to skate last year once a week. And I honestly would prefer him not to play hockey. I don't need that for me. If he wants to, that'll be his decision. But I just want him to be passionate about something, whatever that is. I don't, if it's playing a guitar, if it's music, if it's drama, if it's sports, whatever it is, I'm just trying to facilitate him to find what it is. And because I think ultimately in life, as long as we have a passion that's driving us, that we love, that we care about, that we connect with, that's what's most important for me. And I look at myself as just a facilitator. I'm just trying to expose him to things and just see where his passion leads him. And that's now, as we talked earlier offline, Drew, I am pushing the baseball thing a lot because I want to be a baseball dad, but the jury is out how that's going to work.
Right. Well, it's interesting you touch on that, and maybe we could talk briefly. Is, I think that there are many dads who might feel that either pressure or created internally. Man, I want my son to do this. I want to see them or daughter. I want them to be successful, and they are pretty passionate about seeing their kids do that. Doesn't sound like that, for you want them to find that passion and you want to facilitate that. But there are, I think, many who might do the, flip that. And so, I don't know, maybe we could just have a little conversation about, what's enabled you to have that mindset versus maybe feeling pressure because, I did play, and my son, maybe I want him to carry on that legacy. I don't know. Do you feel any of those things? And what do you think about those parents who might feel that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll reference the Daniel and Henrik Sedin, probably two of my favorite people.
Okay.
And they retired from hockey, I don't know, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, probably now. And people have asked me, boy, those guys, they just kind of walked away and just kind of continued on. And I said the reason they were able to do that was because they were never, their ego was not tied up in them playing hockey. They didn't identify with themselves as hockey players. They identified themselves with fathers, husbands, friends, brothers. That's who they were first as people. Mm-hmm. And so I always admired that. And I kind of feel for me the same. When I left the game in 2008, I just knew that I wanted to experience so many things that I wasn't able to do. I wanted to travel. I wanted to spend time on my mountain bike, my road bike. I wanted to ski. I wanted to experience the mountains because I wasn't able to do that for so long. And so when it comes to Roman, like, I don't need him to be a hockey player for my own personal, like, this is what he needs to do. I mean, I'm still working through this. There's certain things, like, I love him to love baseball because I love baseball, but he may not. And I have to I have to make peace with that, I am just a facilitator to give him experiences so that he can decide what he loves to do. Obviously, we as a family, my wife and I, we both love the outdoors. We both love to hike. We both love to cross-country ski. We love spending time in the mountains. And so we hope that he likes that. But at the end of the day, maybe he loves music. Maybe he wants to play guitar. Maybe he wants to play the piano. Maybe he wants to act or be in drama. So whatever that is, I don't want to be that dad, that person that's pushing this agenda on my son that, hey, hockey. It's not important to me. I want him to find it, and because I think it needs to come from within him. So I just want to allow him to experience things so he can find it, whatever it is.
Yeah. I really appreciate that perspective, because I think that many people might not be able to get to that point. The idea of identity, I think you mentioned, was really powerful when you mentioned the Sedin twins, and their identity was not wrapped up in the public perception or persona that others may have had. It was based on who they wanted to be, how they wanted to show up, and how they wanted that to basically live their lives. And so that's really powerful.
And that's why, like, a lot of times, it's interesting. You play with a lot of players, and retirement is hard. I mean, you're giving up something you love to do, but it's even harder when you've identified your self-worth with being a hockey player. That's going to end, and you see the guys that transition out and they go on and have great, because they're not wrapped up in that. And so you just see that. And so it was interesting, just watching them transition through it. And I kind of saw myself a little bit in them because I was the same way. I was thankful for the career I had, but at the same time knew that there was much more out there in life that I wanted to experience.
The idea of Dad, you can hop in here any time, but I don't want to monopolize this, but I do want to ask one question.
But I will.
So you gotta get in here.
Well,
I'll talk to Trevor all day.
I know you will. So let me ask you, and I guess it's first part of a two-part question, but let me ask, you had mentioned in some information I was reading that you were scared to become a dad.
Yeah.
Can you share? That's part one of the question, but so I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, petrified. So, a funny story. So, Roman was actually born via surrogate. So it's obviously my wife and my DNA, and we had another friend of ours carry him. And so Roman was born in July. So I will never forget when Roman, it was confirmed that, the pregnancy was happening, and we both looked at each other and were like, wow. because we lived this life, we're in our mid 40s, and we basically kind of did what we wanted. We traveled when we wanted. We didn't think, we were very, I guess, wrapped up in what we wanted to do. So I was like, oh my God. And then you have people, there's two different camps out there. You have people that are so excited for you when you tell them. They are like beaming. They're like, oh my God, I'm so stoked. This is the best. Then you have people come up to you and say, oh, geez, well, life's over for you guys. And you're like, what? It's just like crazy. I'm like, who says that? I'm like, oh my God. So, and I think the fear was just about, I guess there's two fears. Fear that what it was going to do to me, like, oh, am I still going to be able to ski with my friends? Can I still go mountain biking? What's life going to look like? And then just the actual ability to take care of a child. Like, I was like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, I don't know how to do anything. Like, it's kind of frightening. I was always a kid person, but I was never a baby person. I'm like, I never wanted to hold little infants because I'm like, these little guys, like they're just so delicate. Right. So I'm like, so just scared to death about those two things, what it's going to do to me in my life. And then I don't know what to do. I don't know how to change diapers or feed them, or I don't know any of that. So it was a scary thought. So picture this. So we're kind of living our life, and and obviously it was time for the delivery. So we just drive to, like, my wife and I, we just drive our car with a car seat in the back to the hospital, and Roman was born, and we just leave with this little guy. It was just, it was the craziest thing. Now I know everyone does that, but they do that normally with their wife. And, my wife was with me, and she wasn't pregnant that whole time. So it wasn't like we were really like getting into that mode. We were just living life as normal. And we picked up this little man at the hospital. So it was pretty wild.
I just want to go a little bit deeper on that. Can you remember and share with our audience the first time you held Roman in your arms?
Yeah. And good for sure. And that fear lasted till the day we got to the hospital. Like a week before, I'm like, oh my God, like, what is going on here? Like, what is going to happen? So I think, honestly, and what's crazy is that, so the minute, the minute I held him, and which was right away. And then that day in the hospital we spent there, it's incredible. And that was in July. And so I had some time. I was working with the team at the time, and it was just the most amazing thing. And I remember thinking, because we were obviously bottle feeding Roman, and so I could do all the night feeds. So I basically was so stoked. I basically did the night feeds for the entire summer. I gave my wife a break because I knew I was leaving. I had to leave in the fall for some work stuff. And it was just the most incredible thing. And it's amazing just how you just kind of just get into it, you know what I mean? And it's been pretty cool.
Oh, good stuff, Drew.
Just like that, you're gonna switch it back to me. Okay.
Oh, I can go on for a bit too. So we can go back and forth. But I will ask, in becoming a dad, what was your dad's response?
My older brother has two kids. They're older. They're 20 and 18 now. So Roman's kind of come a little bit later, and it's just been, what's been really cool is just the whole family. My parents and both my brothers have just been so connected to Roman. He's a very outgoing kid and very talkative. So
I wonder where he gets that from.
Yeah, right. Ask a lot of questions. So it's been and just to follow up on, so it's amazing how scared you are, or I was before, and just like, I was thinking about everything I was losing. I'm losing my freedom. I'm losing my ability to just do what I want, when I want, travel when I want, do what I want. But what you're looking back now, you realize what an incredible journey you are gaining. And it's just, and I still do the other things, maybe not as much as I used to, but it's been so much fun. And he's just been such a gift for my wife and I, and even my brothers and my parents. He's been a lot of fun. So they've been super stoked. And my mom is amazing. She just got so much energy for him. So it's been really cool to watch.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Drew?
Yeah, it sounds very exciting, but that transition is a very abrupt transition, given that, as you said, you were just living your life, and then all of a sudden you received that. So natural to have a lot of those fears. Just a brief. I remember, my first experience was we were having twins.
Oh my God.
And so when I told my friends, they were more on the not so. They were excited, but they dropped a little. Well, you're screwed, basically.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the encouragement. So I totally get that experience of, dude, who says these things when you're about to experience something like this? So, but let's talk maybe briefly about, now that you've had Roman for years, he's about to turn 5. You've gone through the whole, toddler stage, or in that, just going through the toddler stage. Just out of curiosity in general, in the whole journey, what's been the biggest challenge for you as a dad?
I think probably just, I think it's safe to say that you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about, and you realize, I think just, I think many parents would say this, but just, especially now, because when they're little, they're just, you're just taking care of him. Now he has a voice of his own, an opinion of his own, and what he wants to do. So I think it's just being patient, just trying to, get to his level and to get to his speed a little bit, and to try to talk it out a little bit. And one of the things that is interesting as I'm trying to do, because it's something that, as in my house growing up in the 70s, we never talked about how we're feeling. You know what I mean? That was just that was not part of our conversation in our house. So really trying to allow him to feel certain things. And, if he's upset, and just talking about those feelings he's having, and trying to, you know what I mean? So that he has just a better understanding of those things. And it's something that I've, as an adult, continue to work on myself, but just passing those things on to him. But I think just having the patience for him to, they are little people, and they have their own minds, and so it's not that you need to talk to them. You just can't, tell them what they're going to do. It just doesn't work.
Right. You had mentioned about things you've learned. Can you share with our audience some of the things you've learned about yourself as you've been going to this journey called fatherhood?
Yeah. I mean, I was always someone who was always really purpose-based. I mean, I did things. I was driven as a kid. I was driven as a teenager to be a hockey player. It's all I thought of. It's all I wanted to do. So everything I did had a reason for it. And quite honestly, and even when I played professional hockey, I was very driven. I didn't do things for fun. You know what I mean? I didn't just, I was responsible, and, fun was not productive. Fun did not get you where you needed to be. And so now what surprises me is how fun I can be with him, and how silly I can be with him. And it really has brought out a different piece of me that really was been missing for a lot of my life. And so it's been fun, and just working on that personally, just seeing that and saying that feels really good, just to be, just to have fun and fun is okay. But for me growing up, fun was always kind of not necessary, like that's not going to improve you. That's not going to get, so just being silly and fun. And, I talked about mountain biking with him, and, I always have a backpack full of snacks. And when we want to stop, we just stop and sit on a rock or a stump, and we just talk and sit, and we have snacks, and, bikers are going by, but it's really cool. And it's just a different speed. And I guess that's the biggest thing that I'm learning, is that, even sometimes he loves construction. So we'll walk down the street to a house that's being worked on, and just in that walk, just walking with him. And what I try to do is just try to take a moment just to be with him, and be, he wants to talk about the pylon. Why is that there? And I think because life is very fast, we're just moving so fast. And when we're with our kids, whether it be on a mountain bike or even for a walk on the street, that's a one chance just to kind of be present and be there. And so, no phone, put the phone in the pocket, just be right there with him. And it's kind of cool. It's very therapeutic for sure.
I want to pick up on someone so driven. I think that's what you described. Someone who's very driven to achieve and to, reach their goals. Then you're almost saying like it had to be switched off at times. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how do you switch it off? How do you create that idea of presence that you're just talking about? Without feeling like you're losing part of yourself.
Yeah, and Drew, you'll get this because Roman's first year playing t-ball, and so they're 4. Most of them are 4. They're turning 5 this summer, but it's very. And there are some kids that are they're very switched on. They get it. We're now just understanding that when the ball is hit to one of us, you don't all tackle each other. Let one person play the ball, and then that person throws the ball to first base or tries to, and that's how the game is played. So Roman he's very distracted. He's very into other things and stuff. So and that's not me. I mean, when I was very, very focused on sport and I loved it. So just trying, so that's a test for me, just to allow him to be 4. And he's not going to be like me. And so just to allow him to be that. And that's hard. That's hard for me. I need to work on, his, and that's just one of those things. He's going to find his way and do what he loves to do or do what he wants to do. And I'm not, that's not going to be because I'm pushing him to do something, because that doesn't work. And I don't want that situation. So, those are definitely things that I am learning about myself for sure.
Really interesting. One of the parts of your story, we've got your story that you've published in Tessa Lloyd's book, 40 Fathers, also an excerpt that we are using as part of our Champion Dads, and you're one of our Champion Dads, which is fantastic to have. You say, our imperfections create the environment for our own children. If you don't address those imperfections, you take them into your own parenting. And then you share this. You say, I go to a therapist once a week. I've done so for a long time, and it's been invaluable for me. As you're sharing about your approach that you're taking with your own son, it sounds like there's a lot of work that you've just done on yourself. Can you maybe talk a little bit about, most people, I would imagine, would see you from the outside and say that might be surprising to them. They might not, they'd be like, well, wow, tell me more about that. And so could you talk a little bit about the genesis of how did that even start for you, the fact that you chose to go see a therapist, and what that's meant for your life?
Yeah, I think it starts, let me say this. I mean, you walk down the street, we are all broken people in some way. As kids, childhood trauma, is one thing, and that can be many things. It doesn't, obviously we think of trauma, we think of big things, but it can be little things, or even just unmet needs as kids. So when we have these unmet needs, and, that can be many things, that shapes us as adults. And, and then what we end up doing is we have these things, these flaws, these, character ways that we conduct ourselves that at the end of the day can impact our kids. And we pass those on because at the end of the day, we as parents are flawed. And so, I just knew that I as a child, I had some challenge, and I'll say this, I had 2 parents, loving parents, caring parents, but, there are no perfect parents, and they did the very best they could. They worked their tails off to be great parents. They had 3 boys, and we're all, people look at us and say, hey, well-adjusted, successful kids. And even myself, I was a hockey player for 20 years, but that doesn't matter, like people on TV or people playing hockey or football or acting or whatever. I mean, there's challenges everywhere. And so I just wanted, years ago, I needed some help. just working through some things personally. And I think as you get into those things, that leads to more things. And I think it's just a way in which I talked about it earlier, just understanding feelings, understanding, and being present and thoughtful of what's going on inside us and and are you aware of what's going on inside you, and what's going on inside you can lead to what's coming, your actions. If you're angry, if you're lashing out, if you're short, if you're, you know what I mean? If you're reactive, why, what is going on inside that I would react like that in a certain situation? So, and now I think even with Roman, those things are even more, because I don't want to be impatient or reactive with him, because that is not something that I want to burden him with, and I want to sort those things out for myself, so I don't end up passing those things on to him and shaping him in a way that he doesn't feel that he can, talk to me or be himself or trust me or that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's there's no shame in working. I think that I've worked so hard on myself physically for so many years. I mean, and that when we think about that, we as people, we work, fitness clubs are full of people and everything else. And there's no shame. And my dad, I think my dad in the 70s, I think he suffered with depression. I know he did. But that was not, you did not talk about that then. And it was, in Medicine Hat, Alberta in 1970, that you did not talk about your mental health or where you were mentally, that you just did not do that. And so he suffered with this most of his life. And, he's gotten some help in the last few years, and it's been amazing to see. And it's been awesome. And I think he would say today, boy, I wish I would have, had the courage to do something about this, 35, 40 years ago, And so, so I think, as me as an adult now, I know I've got work to do, and I want to be a better human. And so taking some time to work on my mental state is important.
I just want to jump in there and thank you for your openness in regards to that, because I think many fathers and just many people in general need to hear that message.
Yes.
Can you give one tangible plus in your journey seeing a therapist has helped you with?
It's been, I'm going today actually. My normal time slot was 10 o'clock on Tuesday mornings. And so it's, I moved it to this afternoon, but it's just an opportunity to work through, what's, in your brain, you know what I mean? And I think that, I think it's just even, your relationship with I think your closest relationship is with your partner, your wife. And I think that the mirror that you get, the reflection you get back from your partner is sometimes not what you think you would like it to be. And so I think you have to ask yourself the tough questions of why that is, and what is it about, why. And I think it's just digging deeper down, and there's reasons for these things, I could easily sit here and say, I had a perfect childhood. I had, two parents and my two brothers, and we had what we had. We lived in a small town, but there's things, they may be small things, but they affect your behavior as you become a teenager and a young adult and become a husband, or, and those things continue to build a little bit. So just digging down and stripping down some things and understanding kind of just a better way to handle things and deal with things and look at things. And for me, a lot of it is just about understanding feelings and identifying them and being able to observe them, and kind of often say getting outside of your body and just have some eyes on yourself and say, why, what's going on for me right now? Why, you know what I mean? And so, because I think so much of our life is lived out here, we're always out here either, and instead just, refocusing here. So yeah, and it's a journey. It's not a linear road, and it's never perfect, but it's, the journey has been rewarding.
It's interesting. The other day I was in conversation with a father, and he's been going to see a therapist for 27 years.
Wow.
But the wonderful thing is the way he packages therapy is, yes, I have my therapist, but I also go for muscle therapy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't just consider therapy just a mental emotion thing. There's therapy with the body,
For
with the
sure.
mind, the soul. So I thought it was a very interesting perspective of, he makes it very holistic therapy, not just a mind thing, but a body thing, a soul thing altogether.
Ed, absolutely. And I will say this, part of my mental health is about spending time in the mountains and being on skis and getting, exercise. I mean, for me, the fitness side of it, and even what I talked about, going for a walk with Roman, they're not far, but that's phone away, just looking at things, observing the trees or flowers, or talking to him, or just slowing down a little bit and taking mental moments, you know what I mean? And so mental health is physical health for me. And, one of the reasons why fitness has been such a big part of my life is just that it's mental health. And, when I played, I didn't even know I was getting it. I'd go to the rink and practice, and I just, every day I had this incredible job where I got that physical break, which mentally gave me, this positive endorphin rush. And so when I retired, I realized, wow, I need this every day. I need this for my mental health. So definitely they work together for sure.
Good stuff. Drew, back to you.
Yeah, I just want to summarize the power of what you just shared in that story and how important it is. I really let me gather my thoughts. Anyways, so I just those are great things that I think to talk about and to be able to share about and to help people know and understand the power of working on yourself. I think where I was coming from is it's the idea of whole life performance. You've been performing in a very structured, athletic arena, but what you're describing now is how do I create that same effect, that training effect, for the rest of my life? Yeah. And the part that many people neglect or don't even address is that mental emotional piece. And how do those translate into my behavior? Because your behavior is going to ultimately result in your overall life performance. And so anyways, that's the summary I was struggling to get to. That's what I heard from you in terms of it's how do you perform at a high level?
I think that the one thing I obviously, coming from a hockey background, I trained, I worked, I practiced, I put the time in the summer, and you realize, and now that's all gone, that's done. And what I learned, I think, is that, if you want to make a change or you want to improve something, you have to first figure out a plan and then execute the plan and work at it. And so, I think as dads out there, and this is, it's fatherhood and has changed so much. I mean, it used to be just, hey, I'm just a provider. I'm providing the means to, but now there's so much more involved, and they want to be more involved, and they should be more involved. There's no greater gift you can give, but I think you have to, but you can't be selfless and just be giving of yourself. There comes a time where you need to say, hey, I need certain things. That may be, hey, I need to go for a run this morning with a buddy. I need some friend time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, or I need to go for a walk with a friend, or, I'm struggling. And especially the last couple of years with the pandemic. And I mean, it's been brutal. It's been brutal for a lot of people, for business wise and their careers. It's been tough socially because we've been isolated and kind of that trapped feeling. So it's really brought out some mental health situation, I think. And I think it was masked before because we had all these things going on, and it was just like life was just going and going and going. And then the pandemic, we all kind of stopped and got kind of, insular, and we all kind of like, wow, this is tough. And so I think as a dad, I think the greatest gift you can give to your family is that you're taking care of yourself physically, your health, you're getting some exercise, which is mental health as well. And if you do need help, mentally, that you're getting it, that you can openly talk about it and say, I need to do some work here. And that is just the greatest gift you can not only give to your family, but to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing you said earlier was courage. It takes courage to do that, to take that step and go for it.
For sure. Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about, you've spent so many years in a professional sports arena environment. Is it any different, or how is it different from being a father?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I was so thankful to be part of that world for 20 seasons. And, I just am grateful for that. I mean, I guess the one thing would be the discipline of being an athlete for me was very, very structured. I had a lot of structure. I did things at the same time. I trained at the same time. My schedule was very much important to me. So when you talk schedule and little people, we were pretty good at the schedule thing and the nap times and everything. And so, little things like that, I guess. Roman asked me the other day, we moved, and I had a box of, I don't have much hockey stuff in the house and nothing really. And so he doesn't really talk, but I did have a box with some trophies in it. He asked me where I got those trophies from. I said, well, I got, and one was a Canada Cup thing. I said, well, I got them from playing hockey. And he says, well, how can I get some trophies? I said, well, if you want to play sports or do some competitions, maybe you could do the same thing. So, just little lessons like that. But I talk about hard work and discipline and those things with him, but I don't reference, my career because he doesn't care and it's not important to him, So, if he asks me one day, we can talk about it. But, I think mostly just from a discipline and structure standpoint.
Stuff, Drew?
Yeah. Well, just in terms of, what would you consider to be your proudest moment as a dad?
Wow, boy, there's been so many, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of with Roman is I've tried to teach him to look people in the eye when he talks to people, and it's my proudest moment is when he would, actually, you know what? This is a more specific moment. We were at a birthday party, 5-year-old birthday party about a month ago, and there's a little boy there that has MS and had little hearing aids, coke on the outside. And so they were playing in a ball pit, and a little boy was with them, and they go to school together, and his hearing aids came out, and Roman picked up the hearing aids and was putting them back on the little boy's head for him with the magnets. And I just thought that was, such a, and my biggest thing for him is that he is a caring, thoughtful, compassionate, to other people. And the greatest thing I see in these little people is that they don't see, handicap or race or color. And it's so amazing. And I just want him to hang on to that. And I want to foster that in him because, growing up in the 70s in Medicine Hat, it was, just an understanding of multiculturalism and why Canada is special in that way. And so, but just this one moment of him, helping this little boy put his hearing aids back on, I guess there's this little magnet. Mm-hmm. It was just really, really special. So, and I told him that after too, because I think it's important you point those things out. And I said, you should really be really proud of yourself because you were doing something really kind. And that's, I couldn't ask for anything more.
That's a great story, great example, and really love that you affirmed him after and told him how proud you were, but also that he should be proud of behaving that way. So maybe final question when we wrap up is, what's the most important skill that you've developed that is essential for your ability to be a dad? And then why is that so important for you?
Well, for me, the one thing that I've always been, and this is pretty broad, but I'll say it is this, that I was, as a kid and as a young adult and as a hockey player, as a hard worker, I put the time in and I worked hard. And I see that the same thing with being a father. I mean, there's some hard miles out there. There's days where you may not be feeling it and you're tired and you got other things going on and stuff, but you gotta put the time in, and there's days where I talk about my old life where I could come home and just sit on the couch and watch sports and hang out and put my feet up, and now with him I'd love to. There's days where you kind of want to come home and just do that, and you realize, no, I need to, hey, let's go for a walk, let's go to the park, let's go for a bike ride, let's go to the garage, and let's go downstairs and build. He needs that. I want to give him as much time because it goes so fast. I think about it. He's turning 5. I pick him up from school every day at 11:30 we come home and have lunch together. And next year he's going to go for full days, and I'm going to miss him. He's going to go to kindergarten, and it's going to be, so it goes by so fast. And you think about, he's 5 years old in 10 years, which goes by in a hot second. I mean, he's going to be 15 years old, and kind of like dad's going to be like, hey, I want to hang out with my buddies, so, which I hope that's the case. But and hopefully he has a little time for me, but I think it's just hard work. I am a hard worker, and that serves me well, because there's times where it's, I don't want to say it's work, but there's other things you just rather like, wow, I need a break. But 5-year-old kids don't realize that.
Good stuff. Trevor, I'd like to say thank you for taking the time to share with us on the Dad Central show. Really great to hear you share. I want to bless you for I don't think it's work, for your passion to be a father, past, present, and future. Also blessings to you and your partner and all your family to keep it going, keeping strong. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you share with us today.
Well, it's been awesome to be with you guys, Drew, as well. And I just love sharing, because I think that, what people may think, we talked about mental health and see on the outside is you realize that everyone is dealing with the same things, regardless of where you come from or what you did or how you did it or what your status is, or what, if you're a CEO or a hockey player or whatever. We're all just trying to find happiness and the right place in life, and be good fathers and good partners and good friends. So it's been really fun just talking with you guys, sharing some things.
Yeah, thanks so much, Trevor. It's very easy to understand why you've been regarded as one of the most respected athletes and ambassadors for not only Vancouver or just for our country. So it's been a real honor to have you on the show and to have you share.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Well, Drew, first, you said you were nervous. You handled it just smoothly.
Really? We'll go with that. Thanks, Ed. You're very gracious as a co-host. I got you by my side. It makes it easy.
Well, right back at you, and a great knowledge, wisdom, openness, and sincerity about being a father and the importance and the impact it has, not only in his life, but his family's lives and the lives of others. And I know there's a lot that Trevor shared that I know is resonating with fathers, dads, and those who love them. So I think epic conversation. Yeah. Well, another one down, but hey, if you want to catch rebroadcasts, go to our website, dadcentral.ca. And if you want some great resources, a lot of them free. Did I say the word free? Resources on the website, dadcentral.ca. If you have any questions, comments, queries, please tell us. Please, there's the website address, the dadcentral.ca, podcast at dadcentral.ca. And finally, as always, we want to say the Dad Central Show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care believes care is the best of a man, because when men care for themselves and others, there is a positive impact. Drew's not going to be the same after this broadcast. So, you okay, Drew?
I'm good. I'm really enjoyed the conversation, and I love hearing just the intention and purpose. Trevor mentioned purpose behind how he approaches his role as fatherhood, with the same intensity that he approached the other things and have helped him be so successful. I think it's a great model and example that all fathers can learn from.
Absolutely. So we'll just say, in exiting out here, to dads and those who love them, remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We'll see you soon.